It might sound completely insane, but what I'm about to reveal in this video goes against everything you've been taught about how to treat women. And when I say everything, I mean every single thing your mother, society, romantic movies, and even your exes have told you. Machiavelli discovered this over 500 years ago while observing the most powerful women in European courts. What he saw was so disturbing that he never wrote it openly because he knew it would destroy him. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 specific ways to treat women that will make you realize you've been the most irresistible jerk they've ever known. Most men beg for attention like dogs. You won't. You'll make her beg for yours. And the last technique, my friend, that one is the most lethal of all. It's so powerful it can change your romantic life forever. But I can only give it to you at the end, because if you use it without first understanding the other 8, you'll screw everything up. So stay until the end, because every second of this video is pure gold. The first way is the most counterintuitive of all, and this is where 95% of men mess things up completely without even realizing it. You must treat her as if you already have options, even if you don't yet. And I'm not talking about obviously pretending. I'm talking about internalizing it so deeply that you no longer need her validation to feel complete. When that happens, your brain starts operating from a place of real abundance. And here's the thing, the female brain is constantly scanning for signals. She's not really listening to what you say, she's reading how you behave under pressure. And one of the strongest signals she can detect is whether you're a rare man who clings to every opportunity or an abundant man who chooses carefully. Let me explain the biology behind this so you understand why it works so brutally well. Inside the primitive female brain, there's an evaluation mechanism that's been shaped by millions of years of evolution. And it constantly asks this question: if this man gives me all of his attention so easily, why aren't other women fighting for him? And if no one else wants him, what flaw does he have that I'm not seeing? It's like a marketplace, my friend. When you see a product on clearance that nobody is buying, you assume something must be wrong with it. But when you see a long line of people waiting to buy something, you automatically perceive it as more valuable. So how do you apply this without being a jerk? First, never. Listen carefully to this. Never cancel important plans for her in the early stages. If you have a workout planned, a meetup with your friends, or a project that matters to you, don't move it just because she suddenly has free time. Calmly tell her, hey, I already have something that day, but I'm free Thursday night if you're up for it. That single action communicates volumes. It tells her your life was already moving before she showed up, that you have priorities, that your time has real value. Second, when she texts you, don't reply instantly like you've been sitting there with your phone in your hand. Give space. Let 20 minutes pass, an hour, sometimes even 2 hours if it's casual. Not to play games, but because you're genuinely busy building your life. And when you do reply, do it with energy, with substance, but without desperation. No, sorry for the late reply, I was busy. Just calm, grounded presence. That excuse communicates guilt. Don't do that. Just reply normally, as if your time is naturally limited. Third, and pay close attention here, never give her unlimited access to your emotional availability right at the beginning. Weak men unload their entire life story, their fears, their insecurities within the first 3 dates, thinking it creates connection. What it actually creates is discomfort, because she didn't hire you as her therapist, my friend. She wants to feel that you're solid, that you have your emotions under control. You can be vulnerable later once trust has been built, but in the beginning, keep a bit of mystery. She should have to earn access to the deeper layers of who you are. And here's the biggest mistake men make with this first technique. They confuse acting like they have options with being arrogant or distant. Those are not the same thing. A man with real options doesn't need to rub it in anyone's face. He simply lives his life with purpose. His energy says, my life is interesting with or without you. If you choose to join it, great. If not, I'll keep building something meaningful anyway. That energy is magnetic, because there's no neediness attached to it. If you want to master this once and for all, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what's coming in the second technique is even more twisted. And trust me, you're going to want this in your back pocket for when you need it. The second way is brutal, and most men hate it the first time they hear it, because it goes against everything they've been taught about being a nice guy. You must treat her with respect, but never with adoration. And there's a massive difference between the two that most people don't understand. Respect means valuing her time, listening when she speaks, and treating her with basic dignity. Adoration means putting her on a pedestal, acting like she's perfect, and excusing behavior you wouldn't tolerate from anyone else, just because you like her. Machiavelli wrote something that applies perfectly here. He said, he who becomes a sheep will be eaten by the wolves. And my friend, in romantic dynamics, that law still applies. When you adore a woman, when you treat her like a goddess who can do no wrong, you remove all the tension from the dynamic. And without tension, there is no electricity. Without electricity, there is no attraction. It's that simple. Let me give you a real-life example of what this looks like. Let's say she shows up 30 minutes late to a date and doesn't even warn you. The man who adores says, "Don't worry, it's no problem. I understand. Traffic can be bad." The man who respects without adoring calmly says, "Hey, my time matters. If something comes up, just let me know. If this happens again, it's better we reschedule for another day." See the difference? One man is begging to be treated well. The other is setting a standard. Without anger, without drama, just with clarity. Here's what happens in her brain when you do this. Her nervous system detects that you have real boundaries, that you're not a man who will tolerate anything just to keep her around. And it activates something primitive in her. Her brain starts thinking, wait, this guy has standards. If I mess up, I could lose him. I should be on my best behavior. Most of the time, this isn't conscious. It's an automatic calculation her brain makes based on behavioral signals. Another massive mistake here is confusing respect with constant agreement. You can respect her opinion and still disagree. In fact, women respect men more when they can say, "I understand your point, but I see it differently," than men who nod along like trained dogs to everything they say. Because when you never have your own position, you communicate that you have no backbone. And no woman gets wet for a man without a spine. My friend, that's the raw truth. So in practice, what does it actually look like to treat her with respect without adoration? First, compliment her actions and her choices, not just her looks. Instead of saying, "You're beautiful" every time you see her, say things like, "I like how you handle pressure," or "I respect the way you make decisions." That communicates that you value her character, not just her body. And character is something she has to maintain. Beauty is something she got from genetics. One requires effort, the other doesn't. Second, never ignore red flags hoping they'll magically change. If she does something that makes you uncomfortable, say it. Not aggressively, just calmly. "Hey, I don't like that. I prefer we handle it this way." And if it doesn't change after you've clearly communicated it, adjust your investment. Reduce the time you give her. Reduce the energy you put in. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Women respond to consequences, not lectures. Third, learn to say no without giving long explanations. When she asks you to do something you don't want to do, a simple, "I can't this time," is enough. You don't need to justify every decision like it's a court case. Men who over-explain communicate that they fear rejection. Men who say no calmly communicate that their time has value and that not everyone has access to it. The third technique is where we start entering darker territory. And this is where many men get lost, because they don't understand the balance. You must treat her in a way that's unpredictable, but not chaotic. And that sounds contradictory until you understand the difference. Unpredictable means she never fully knows which version of you she's going to get. Sometimes you're warm and affectionate, other times you're more distant and focused on your own things. Not because you're manipulating her, but because that's how a real man with a full life actually operates. Chaotic means mood swings for no reason, emotional outbursts, real instability. That doesn't create attraction, it creates fear and confusion. But strategic unpredictability, my friend, is pure fuel for female desire, because her brain can never fully categorize you. She can never say, "I've completely figured this man out." And as long as she can't categorize you, her mind keeps thinking about you. Let me explain the neuroscience behind this. The human brain releases dopamine, the chemical of pleasure and motivation, when it encounters something new or unexpected. That's why the early stages of a relationship feel so intense. Everything is new, but over time, when everything becomes predictable, dopamine drops, and with it, desire. Men who understand this keep that dopamine flowing by being consistent in their values, but variable in their expression. So what does this look like in real life? Sometimes you plan a highly romantic, well-thought-out date. Other times you say, "Listen, I'm doing this. If you want to join, you're welcome." Not the same level of effort every time, not the same energy every time. Sometimes you're the gentle guy who holds her, listens to her problems, and is fully present. Other times you're so absorbed in your mission that you barely have time to send a text. That contrast, that variation, keeps her nervous system engaged. But here's the critical nuance you cannot miss. Unpredictability must come from authenticity, not calculated strategy. If you pretend to be busy when you're not, she'll feel it. If you act cold just to create tension, she'll sense the manipulation. But if you genuinely have days where your mission consumes you and days where you have more space for connection, then that natural variation is perfect. You're not playing games, you're living. So the key here is to build a life where your available energy truly varies based on what you're pursuing. When you're launching a project, naturally you have less time. When you've just achieved something meaningful, naturally you have more space to celebrate and connect. That's real unpredictability, and that's what creates sustained attraction, because it's rooted in purpose, not in games. Now let's move on to the fourth one, and this is where we combine everything into a nuclear combo. You must treat her as if you already have something more important in your life than her. Because here's the truth no one tells you, my friend. A woman does not want to be the center of your universe. It sounds cute in cheesy love songs, but in real life, it's suffocating. What she actually wants is to be part of a universe that's already moving, one that already has its own gravity, its own direction, and is already interesting without her. Think about it this way. If all your happiness, all your purpose, all your sense of direction depends on her, you've just turned her into your emotional mother. And no one, absolutely no one, wants to sleep with their psychological mother. That's basic biology. The maternal role activates completely different circuits in the female brain than the lover role. And once she starts seeing you as someone who needs emotional care, sexual desire shuts off like a switch. Machiavelli observed this in the courts. The men with great missions, men building empires, chasing ambitions bigger than any woman, those were the men queens and noble women pursued. Not because they were cruel, but because they were men with a purpose that existed independently of any relationship. And that purpose was magnetic. So how do you apply this practically? First, identify your real mission. What would you do even if there were no women left on the planet? It could be building a business, mastering a martial art, creating music, whatever. But it must be something that genuinely excites you, not something you invent just to impress. And once you find it, invest real time into it. Not leftover time, quality time. Second, when she asks about your day or your plans, mention your mission first. I worked on this project today, made solid progress, then I trained, and later I've got this other thing. She needs to feel that your life was already full before she arrived, that she's stepping into something structured, not filling a void. Because voids are dark, my friend. They absorb all the light and give nothing back. But a full life radiates, and radiation attracts. Third, never completely reorganize your life around her in the early stages. If you have a 6 a.m. gym routine, keep it. If you have a weekly night with your friends, keep it. These things communicate structure, discipline, and a solid identity. And those are high-value markers her brain is constantly scanning for. Now we move to the fifth one, and this is where we start picking up speed, because the next ones are shorter, but just as lethal. You must treat her as if you could walk away at any moment without destroying yourself. And be careful, I'm not saying you should threaten to leave every time there's a problem. That's cheap manipulation. What I'm saying is that your emotional state cannot depend on whether she stays or leaves, because when a man desperately needs a woman to stay, he starts behaving in ways that practically guarantee she'll leave. Fear of loss makes you cautious. It makes you start managing her emotions instead of maintaining your own. It makes you sacrifice your truth for temporary security, and security without strength becomes suffocating. Women can feel fear, my friend, and fear in a man is instinctively repulsive because it signals that he won't be able to protect her when things get heavy. Sixth technique. Treat her with warmth, but selectively. Don't give the same level of warmth to every woman. Adjust your emotional investment based on how she behaves. If she's respectful, loyal, and adds to your life, give her more warmth. If she's disrespectful, creates unnecessary drama, reduce your warmth. Seventh, and this one destroys them. Treat her as if your standards are so high that she has to make an effort to keep your interest. Not shallow physical standards, but character standards. How she treats you, how she handles conflict. Whether she truly adds to your life or merely distracts from it. Because when she senses that you have real standards and that she might not meet them, something switches on. Her brain says, "This man doesn't accept just anything. If I want to keep him, I need to be my best version. 8th, never chase immediate emotional resolution in every small conflict. Sometimes tension needs room to breathe. Weak men rush to fix every misunderstanding because they can't tolerate discomfort. Strong men allow space to do its work. They let her process, let her think, let her feel your absence. And often, after that space, she comes back with more clarity and more respect than if you had chased resolution desperately. And now we arrive at the 9th and most powerful of all. This is the one that can change your romantic life forever if you truly understand it. You must treat her exactly the way you treat yourself. If you respect yourself, respect her. If you have standards for yourself, have standards for her. If you wouldn't tolerate certain behavior from yourself, don't tolerate it from her. Because here is the final truth, my friend. Women don't fall in love with how you treat them. They fall in love with how you treat yourself while treating them well. When your self-respect is so deep, it shows in every interaction. When your dignity is not negotiable, no matter how beautiful she is. When your life has so much internal value that your energy becomes rare by nature, not by strategy. That's when you become irresistible. Because at a subconscious level, you're communicating something her primitive brain is desperate to find. A man who governs himself, a man who doesn't need external validation, a man who is complete on his own and who chose her from abundance, not from need. Now, in the comments, I want your opinion on something. What works better in your experience? A. Holding firm to your boundaries, even if she gets upset, or B. Being more flexible to avoid conflict. Write A or B and briefly explain why you chose it. Let's see which one wins. So, to quickly summarize everything. First, treat her like you already have options. Second, respect her but never adore her. Third, be unpredictable but not chaotic. Fourth, have something more important in your life than her. Fifth, maintain the ability to walk away without destroying yourself. Sixth, selective warmth based on behavior. Seventh, standards so high she has to earn your interest. Eighth, let tension breathe. And ninth, treat her the same way you treat yourself. Now, the moral disclaimer I have to give you: with great power comes great responsibility, my friend. These techniques work because they're based on real psychology, evolutionary biology, and how we function as a species. But you can use this knowledge in two ways. You can use it to manipulate and use women without caring about their well-being. Or you can use it to become a man so solid, so valuable, so grounded in integrity that you naturally attract high-quality women and build something real with them. My recommendation is that you use this to elevate yourself. First, build your life, develop your mission, become someone you would respect if you were another person. And when you do that, these techniques won't be things you apply. They'll be natural expressions of who you are. And the women you attract will be of the caliber a man at that level deserves. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs it, and drop a like. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and stay sharp. Because the next video will break down the microscopic signals a woman shows once she's already lost respect for you and how to reverse them before it's too late. This is content you won't find anywhere else. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, the man who controls his own mind controls his destiny.